What is up, everyone? Welcome to Heaven at Home. You know, the Bible has a lot of scriptures in it, and we see a lot of scriptures here and there, but have you ever thought that you may have missed sometimes you may miss some of it. So let's dig a little deeper and find some scriptures that you may have missed. Did you know that there is a talking donkey in the Bible? Numbers 22:18 says, "Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, 'What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?'" This verse inspired this video. You know, when I first read it a few years ago, it really threw me off. And I was like, wait a minute, did that donkey really just talk? A little bit of backstory on this verse. Balaam was a man of God, and he was sent by King Balak to curse the people of Israel. And in this process, he went back and forth with God, and God finally let him go, as long as he did exactly what he told him. But along the way, God sent an angel to block his path, but Balaam didn't see it, although the donkey did. And after veering off the path multiple times, Balaam struck the donkey time and time again until God finally opened the mouth of the donkey. After this, they had a full-on conversation, which I think is just weird because if I was in that situation where a donkey started talking to me, I probably wouldn't sit there and talk to it. I feel like this is a little bit more accurate to what would have happened.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I was talking to you.
We all know those people that have those really loud and obnoxious sneezes, right? I'm actually one of them. I don't know how people hold in their sneeze because I would literally, blow my brains out if I tried to do something like that. But in Exodus 15:8, it says, "At the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up, the floods stood up in a heap, and the deeps congealed in the heart of the sea." This verse is in reference to the time God split the Red Sea in Exodus 14. In that passage, it says that a powerful wind came in and split the sea. But here we see that the sea was split by the blast of your nostrils, talking about God. So I definitely would not want to be in the same room as God when he sneezed. There's many verses in the Bible that talk about the Israelites and how many of them there were. Some saying that, looking like a vast sea. In Exodus 1:5, it says that all the descendants of Jacob were 70 persons. Joseph was already in Egypt. So when the Israelites went into Egypt initially, there was only 70 of them. But leaving Egypt was a completely different story. Exodus 12:37, "And the people of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children." So at the time of the Exodus, there was around 600,000 men. This is not including women and children and even men under the age of 20. So you can estimate that their population was probably in the millions. A few verses later, it shows that the Israelites were in Egypt for 430 years. So in around 400 years, the population went from under 100 to several million. Did you know that unicorns were real? In Numbers 24:8, it says, "God brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones, and pierce them through with arrows." So it's confirmed, unicorns are real. It's in the Bible, so you can't come at me saying that it's not true. A lot of translations actually use an ox in place of unicorn in this verse, but in King James Version, which is what we just read, it talks about a unicorn. If you don't believe me, Numbers 24:8 in the King James Version, go look it up. You've probably heard of the sword and the stone, but have you ever heard of the sword and the stomach? Judges 3:21 through 22. "And Ehud reached with his left hand, took the sword from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. And the hilt also went after the blade, and the fat closed over the blade. He did not pull out the sword out of his belly, and dung came out." I don't really know why this makes me think of the sword and the stone, but it does. A lot of translations actually use dagger instead of sword here, but I like to think of it as a sword because it makes this guy seem way fatter than he might be. You need to go read the full passage in Judges 3:12 through 30. It gives me a really secret agent type vibes, and you should definitely check it out. There's a verse in the Bible that actually talks about a streaker. Mark 14:51 through 52 says, and the young man followed him with nothing but a linen cloth about his body, and they seized him. But he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. So every big sporting event's got him, so why can't the Bible, right? This happens right after Jesus was arrested, so we don't actually know who the man was, and for all we know, it could have been a disciple or maybe a secret admirer of Jesus. For all you guys that are bald out there, this one is just for you. 2 Kings 2:23-24 says, Elijah left Jericho and went up to Bethel. As he was walking along the road, a group of boys from the town began mocking him and making fun of him. Go away, Baldy, they chanted. Go away, Baldy. I found this pretty interesting. I did not know that Elijah was bald before I read this verse. And Elijah goes on to curse these boys that were making fun of him, and bears come out to, well, you can go read the rest for yourself. I told my dad about this verse, and he said, yeah, that's why I'm bald. And I looked at him funny, and he said, well, we made fun of our youth pastor that was bald when we were younger, so I guess that's our punishment. The moral of the story is here, don't make fun of bald people. Either you'll end up bald yourself, or you might get attacked by bears. Home Alone is a very popular movie in the Christmas season, but did you know that the Bible has its own Home Alone scene? Luke 2:41-46 says, every year Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. When Jesus was 12 years old, they attended the festival as usual. After the celebration was over, they started home to Nazareth, but Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents didn't miss him at all because they assumed he was among the other travelers. But when he did not show up that evening, they started looking for him among their relatives and friends. When they couldn't find him, they went back to Jerusalem to search for him there. 3 days later, they finally discovered him in the temple, sitting among the religious teachers, listening to them and asking questions. This has got Home Alone written all over it. The family leaves, and you get that conversation of, oh, well, I thought he was with you. You know, I've heard a lot of people say that they don't know how Jesus' parents could possibly have left him, but the verse says that they assumed he was with the other travelers, which were their relatives and friends. So it probably wasn't uncommon for Jesus to travel with somebody else because they traveled in very large groups. So they probably didn't think anything of it. Today, there are so many different languages that are spoken around the world, but early on, we all spoke the exact same language. Genesis 11:1 and 8-9 says, at one time, all of the people of the world spoke the same language and used the same words. In that way, the Lord scattered them all over the world, and they stopped building the city. That is why the city was called Babel, because that is where the Lord confused the people with different languages. In this way, he scattered them all over the world. It's interesting to think that different languages was kind of an afterthought, because originally there was only a single language. It makes you wonder what happened to that language. Is it something we still speak today, or a language that was lost that day? And last but not least, we have poop bread. Ezekiel 4:15 says, all right, the Lord said, you may bake your bread with cow dung instead of human dung. The immature side of me had to include this, and I cannot imagine what this would have tasted like. I mean, this is basically what Matt Damon does in The Martian, but he makes potatoes. But either way, it cannot taste that good. That's all I got for today, guys. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I really hope you learned something. There was a lot of these verses that I didn't know before preparing for this video, so let me know if there's anything that I missed, and what was your favorite one? Drop it down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, keep striving to bring heaven to your home.